This is Bam Electric Ghost, and we got a brand new song we wrote last night called Novocaine Sprue Feel. And this song, we went back to our hardware workflow. It's focusing on using our two favorite modes. We're using a mode, Drummer from Another Mother, which is an awesome analog drum machine. It's our kind of go-to drum machine for the last 2 years since we got it. And in addition, we're using the Moog Mother 32, and then we're using our trusty Juno DI, and for effects, the MX1 Performance Mixer, as well as the Zoom R24 digital recorder, and then for Josephine Electric's vocal, we're using the Roland VT4 vocal transformer. So this song is basically Josephine talking about how sometimes, in order for people to, have sex or passion or get through the day, they kind of numb themselves. And she's talking about this Novocaine kind of, anesthetic to kind of push down her pain. So, she doesn't want to feel. She's going to go and do kind of dangerous liaisons. She doesn't really care to know the person. She doesn't really want to know what they're about. She just wants to kind of do the very surface outward thing, like maybe have a one night stand, maybe have a hookup, but not get any deeper than that. And it's kind of showing that Josephine has this kind of complexity to her character. And we had been focusing on her origin in the last couple episodes. And this kind of gets into like, well, why does Josephine have this kind of behavior? It seems like this behavior might have led to her demise, and as a ghost, she continues to do it. Maybe because now it doesn't really even matter, and it's just part of her personality. But part of her whole being is that she's a very sexual person, and sometimes she seems like she's very cavalier. She's a dominatrix, so she's like, you could see that she's kind of cold or uncaring or very disciplined and stoic in her approach. But we've got songs where she kind of lets her softer side come out, and then she kind of reveals that she has this fragility. That we get songs like "Fragile with You Tonight," or if "Love Has No Ceiling," "Why Is My Heart on the Floor." So we can get a little deeper with Josephine, where she's not just wielding the whip in this you know, taking her partner into submission, and just treating him like an untoward wretch. So Josephine, she's a flip side of my personality. She like does the things that I don't do as a person. I kind of fantasize through her, and I represent the kind of fancy life that I would think like a rock and roller. Like if you're gonna be out there like a Mick Jagger or a Freddie Mercury or a Prince or any of the big rock stars, David Bowie, they kind of have this whole idea of this sexual stuff going on around them, this kind of fancy world where they're just out there. And more maybe in the 70s it was more like that. In the 70s there was like a free zone for sexuality and experimentation. Now today you do have people who are in that zone, but it's not considered to be like the norm. It's not part of the mainstream. Mainstream music isn't really pushing that. We're an indie kind of focused band. We've never tried purposely to create a banger hit, a club banger, or any kind of modern take on what's going on. Other than we are trance electronic music, and some people get that confused. They see a trance band or electronic band, they assume it's a DJ. Not that DJs aren't cool, but we're rooted in traditional electronic music, going back to the creation of the Moog modular systems and Buchla and the West Coast sound, and the idea that electronic music is to be played live with actual synthesizers, not just computers or DJ equipment. So we're a keyboardist, performer, producer, and we play a lot of our material live and track it live. Um, we do overdubs and everything, but we don't go into a DAW and compose a song on a digital audio workstation. We've decided to use the Zoom R24. If we were going to move up, we'd probably get a Tascam 24 and then probably some Neve audio processing equipment. The one compromise we've looked at potentially is the Akai Force to be able to capture a lot of our hardware workflow in a smaller package, and then kind of use the DJ concept of clips. But we still like the Zoom. We probably would still default to using an Akai, and then where it doesn't have a song mode as much, we'd probably take a lot of clips and then overdub them into an R24 or into a Tascam 24. Then run a lot of things through the Neve processing, sound processing modules that you can buy today. We're more into that. Eventually, if we get where we want to be and we build a studio, we would try to build like a Neve-based audio processing focused studio, and we probably would do a lot of analog tape equipment to capture things, because we'd want to grab, a synth like a Moog One, grab some old synths like Jupiter 8s and 106s and Jupiter 4s and 6s and EMS machines and Buchlas, and so we would tend to have a lot of analog equipment that we wouldn't want to have compressed, so we'd probably record it directly to tape. And then the problem is you want to get out there on a streaming services, eventually you got to get it to a WAV file. We'd probably be looking for the best board to do a WAV on. Um, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there that we're looking at. We think the Tascam 24 got an analog workflow and does go to like an SD card, which is a WAV. And we'd like to see what the difference is, because we did see a difference between the Zoom R16 and the R24 in terms of the headroom. An example of that is, you know, Oh Never Last You Got the Gnats was like one of the first songs we recorded on the R24, and it has a totally different sound quality than when Miss Electric comes to town. The drums really come out very sparkling. The vocals are very clear. So there's something that they did. It's a 24-bit audio, 48 megahertz. But it's not just that they added 8 additional tracks to the 16. It seems like there's something else going on with that machine. It has more headroom, so there's some audio processing magic in there that's not the same as the R16. So it's kind of like when you pay more money, you get a better equipment. And so the R24 is more expensive than an R16, and a Tascam 24 is more expensive than an R24. And it has an analog processing workflow, and it's got the knob for function that we're always looking at. So that is something we want to get. Looking at a lot of the things that we want to go into for next year, what comes to mind is the Moog Matriarch, which is an amazing paraphonic synth from Moog. Since the Mini Moog is out of production, Moog has given us a kind of Mini Moog on steroids, totally crazy machine that is a mixture of their modular gear, semi-modular gear like the Mother 32 and a Mother and DFAM. So it's got a keyboard. It's kind of following the grandmother. Well, it's got a bigger keyboard. It's up to 49 keys on fat tar bed, and then you've got, in fact, it's paraphonic, and then it's got 4 oscillators, 4 real oscillators, not a sub oscillator, and the LFO can be tricked into being an oscillator, so you basically have a 5 oscillator synth for $2,000 from Moog that's analog, and it's really nothing like that today. Even if you look at Prophet 6, or you look at the Prologue, you're only getting maybe 3 oscillators. You're not getting 4 with an LFO that can be a fifth, and they're not getting a full analog delay. So we are kind of upset that they didn't include a reverb from the grandmother because if they had a reverb and a digital delay, but we understand Moog wants to make a reason to still buy the grandmother. So the grandmother for its reverb is probably the biggest reason to buy a grandmother is to get that analog reverb out of it, the spring reverb. And then the matriarch, the big draw is it's paraphonic, which a grandmother can be paraphonic as well, um, if you play with it. And then the fact that it's got the four oscillators and the two LFOs. It's got one simple LFO. But it's just a very powerful synth. It's got a lot of different capabilities that are kind of even digitally. They've got a bunch of different sonic profiles or settings, global settings that are triggered by doing combination key presses with the white and black keys, which is kind of cool, but then it's kind of annoying because can't see what you're doing. So a lot of people always say, why don't you Moog create like an iPad editor, kind of like what they did for the Siren. So it's kind of interesting. Like they built a Siren and it had like an iPad program editor, or it had software where you could edit it, but then they created this $2,000 um, matriarch, and it doesn't have that. And they were like, well, they've got some technology where they did do it, and they actually make it so you can save patches on the Siren. So why didn't they make it so you can save patches on the matriarch? Now I know they got the Moog one, and they don't probably want to compete with the Moog one. And if your matriarch actually could save patches, there's some people would say, well, I like the idea of the matriarch more than the Moog one, just because of its modular nature. It's more modular than the Moog one. Now the Moog one has the ability that it can, interface, but it's not. It's got 90 patch points. It's more of a it's gonna do everything, you know, in the Moog one. It's not considering you're gonna link it up to a lot of other things. It's kind of like a one-stop shop, like studio set or workstation, like analog workstation, which is amazing, and it is something that every synthesizer player probably is lusting for, because the Moog One is a machine that Moog was rumored, or people wanted Moog to build, and wondered why Moog wasn't doing that since the last time they had done a polyphonic synth with the memory Moog, and they kind of failed at that. And before that, you had the Poly Moog, which was an amazing synth. And Behringer was going to build something, a clone, having a divide down um, poly Moog, like the first generation, not the second, where they kind of dumped it down. But the first generation, where it had total control of the oscillators, and it had the workflow with the filters and the envelopes, and it had the presets. It was divide down, so it had like a Hammond organ capability to be fully polyphonic with a Moog ladder filter and envelopes on it. That is an amazing machine. It sounds awesome. Um, and Song Car is kind of like a representative. Well, that's the second generation, not the first. But it's a pretty awesome machine. And the Moog, I was wondering if the Moog One actually has presets that are poly Moog. I haven't really looked at a lot of the online information on it, so it could be that it has that, but I'm not aware of it. I know they've got a bunch of new patches they've added. I'm not sure what they've done it with sequential and Prophet X. They've been pretty clear where they brought in the Prophet 5 as a package. I think they brought the BS in as a package. I don't know if they brought in a Prophet 10 as a package, but that's very interesting. And so on the other side, the three synths we're lusting after for this year is one of them kind of vaporware, it's not there yet. Is UDO Super 6, which is kind of an ode to Roland. It's kind of a combination Jupiter 8 and Juno 106, not for function, but it's FTVTA based, kind of like what Roland does with their boutique synths in System 8. So it's able to replicate like analog behavioral modeling and actually give you an analog synth and then give you digital. So we've seen that with the Quantum. We've seen that with the Novocaine. I think it's FGBPA. Um, so you've seen that again with rolling with the System 8. So but that stuff's not out yet. We've seen it at Super Booth 2019, and it looks very impressive. One of the most impressive machines there, besides the Matriarch. So the Matriarch is going to be available. You know, Luke Pop did a big review on it. Waiting for the Sweetwater review. Waiting for the Sonic State review. Luke Pop was very impressed with it. So that's still probably like our highest, the biggest desire we have for a new year. And then the next one would be like a Prophet XL, which is an awesome studio machine. If you're doing atmospheric stuff, if you're doing composing like what we compose all the time, that is a very awesome composing synth. I think it could kind of supplant the core Chronos, just because the way the sampling is integrated, it's got more of a, I think if you're a synth sound designer, the core Chronos isn't really your machine. That's more of a studio machine to give you your sounds, but the Prophet gives you the sound design, kind of like the way the Moog gives the sound design, and it would kind of be between like a Moog 1 isn't going to give you the sampled pianos and strings that the Prophet does. So you've got compositions where you need real strings and real horns, then the Prophet is kind of the way you want to go. If you're kind of like, oh, well, I just want synthetic sounds, I want like, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Peter Gabriel, Genesis, that type of experimentation, of Radiohead experimentation, maybe like New Order. You're totally into the pure synth sounds. Then I think the Moog 1 is a better machine. But if you're into like composition that's more like a Chronos workstation, but you want to have that analog feel, then I think the Prophet XL is probably the better choice. But then if you want a performance synth, it's going to give you really good knob for function and pads, and kind of inspired by a Jupiter. I think the UDO Super 6, it looks like the go-to machine. The other thing that you can do, because the System 8 is still out there. The System 8, a lot of people kind of come down on it because the build isn't at the level of the Prophet or at the level of the Moog. But if you're out there and you're playing, a System 8 is a really awesome go-to synth because you got the ability. You could do a Pro Mars, you could do an SH-101, you could do a Jupiter 8, you could do a Juno 106, you can do a JXT, a JX, JX, I think it's JXT. It emulates a lot of classic synths that you would want in your repertoire at one board, and then allows you to mix a Jupiter with a 106, which you can't really do any other way. And so I think if you're going to have a tool, that's a really good tool. And so I've always desired a Roland System 8. It just never, worked out that I got one yet. That I was focusing on Euro racks, and I've been doing a lot of Euro rack stuff, like what we just talked about with this song. But we'll talk to you later, and we have got some interviews coming on deck. We're going to talk to the Music again in the next week or two. The Punk Brothers from London. We've had about 3 episodes with them. They got brand new material, brand new videos. Check them out on Instagram and YouTube. The Muted, awesome band in the vein of the Clash, and probably also I think they're just a really awesome punk band. So if you're into them, check them out. We're gonna be talking to them again, and we'll talk to you later.
I want the Novocaine deal. I don't really wanna feel. I don't really wanna be revealed. I want the Novocaine deal. I don't wanna be revealed. Wanna make my life so fake. Wanna feel effective and happy. I don't really wanna get through the day. I just wanna get way there. I don't really wanna be real. I don't really wanna be deal. the deal. I'm gonna live and make me feel. I don't really wanna know you. I don't really wanna know your truth. Although you get screwed, I don't wanna go with you. I don't really wanna know you. I don't really wanna know the truth. I just wanna go and do that dude. I just wanna go and do that dude. Novocaine, it'll never leave pain. All the things that I can't say, but I just want a game to be played. I don't really wanna be real. I don't even wanna be here. I don't really wanna feel. Just wanna say my darling dear. The deal. I don't wanna feel. I want that suppression of fear. I want that suppression when I feel. I just wanna know what's not real. I just wanna stay in that world right here. I don't really wanna be real. I don't wanna really feel that feel. And give me Novocaine, that's the deal. That's all I can't even feel. Wanna feel it down in a ditch. Wanna feel with that Osco bitch. Wanna feel it in a ditch. And we know the Moscow Mitch. Here in the ditch, America's misled in a ditch. All because of that Moscow Mitch. And all he's a Russian out bitch. America's slid into the ditch. And I know what it is. It's all because of that Moscow Mitch. That is Russian bitch. I know what this is. It's all because that Moscow Mitch.